Galera. Hey guys, red and black greetings. This is Flamengo. Welcome to the Paparazzo Rubro Negro channel coming to you now. I invite you to follow, like, and share on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe down here, turn on notifications, and hit that cool like button on the video. I'm already arriving here again in Manhattan. I can see it now. We're already on the way from Morristown, where Brazil trained, to Manhattan. I can already see the buildings in the distance. We're on our way to have lunch at Times Square. And here's the thing, my friends. Look, I have some good news to share with you. And I want to remind you that, man, there are really a lot of cool tips on our tips channel. I'll leave it here in the pinned comment, but I'll also leave the registration link for stake here. Remember to play responsibly. It's for people over 18. It's for fun, not an investment, man. Stake is one of the biggest sports betting sites in the world, and you can take advantage of it, take the opportunity to place your bets. By the way, I told you today that it's already happening, right? The France game is starting now, right? Well, for those watching this video, the game might already be over, but there's still a chance you have time to play around, right? Make that little bet, right? Bread money. For the Argentina game, look, I'll tell you, it's a game for over 1.5 total goals and an Argentina win. So I would take advantage and go ahead and access the link that's in the pinned comment, that's in the description, the stake link, which will really be worth it for you. Take advantage, okay? Stake is fantastic. It's one of the most reliable ones, the kind where you, man, just request to withdraw your money. The deposit is fast. Everything is very, very easy. Everything is very intuitive. So go ahead and access stake right now. My friends, let's go. We have some important information to share with you here regarding Neymar. Neymar trained with the ball, right? Just playing around there. First, he went to the tennis court with the physical therapists, and that's the information we shared earlier. Neymar would go out onto the field. We knew this already, so they closed the training session to the press, not because of the players' families. It was because Neymar was going to the field. They wanted to create a controlled environment for Neymar. That's the reality. So the information about Neymar in the game. Yeah. He could go to the game against Haiti. It's already been decided. We know he can go, he will go. He might even be on the roster because he was already on the roster in the previous game. He went in sneakers and everything. He can go to the game, okay, he can go. But to play, to actually get minutes, okay, the information is that it would be against Scotland, okay? So it's important for us to tell you about the training session. He's going out onto the field in a controlled environment without the press. Why? Sometimes he's there, he jogs a little on the field, then the physical therapist stands next to him to check how his calf is, touches his calf, that's it. And the press would already get the footage and say, obviously Neymar seems to have felt something during training. To keep a controlled environment with only approved images, they closed the training session the first time he went to the field. The reason? The players' families would be there to have lunch with them after. So Neymar went to the field, trained there, jogged on the field wearing sneakers. Then he put on his cleats, played around with the ball. Obviously, when he was there, doing the step over and that little elastico move with the ball, as soon as I saw it, I said, my God, for heaven's sake, Neymar, don't do that. Just hold back a little longer. We get worried because he is definitely one of the reasons we still believe, because honestly, we really lack star players these days, and Ancelotti isn't using him. The ones we know who can really deliver are Endrick, Ryan, and even Luis Enrique himself. He even gets opportunities, but with the other players, we believe that together they could work better. Yeah, even Danilo himself. So I think Neymar is that player, that extra piece that's missing there for us to even play better soccer right now, Neymar. I believe he will be prepared for the game against Scotland, and in this game against Scotland, if Brazil is struggling, needing a result, depending on what happens against Haiti, we believe it will be a good win. But if they don't manage it, and the game against Scotland is a decisive match, an elimination game. In quotes, I don't believe Neymar will play, my friends. I don't think he will make a sacrifice to play in a match before the round of 16. I believe that Neymar could get some minutes depending on what happens against Haiti. And I believe that he could have his best chance exactly in the round of 16. Now, to share with you about changes in the Brazilian national team, changes that I would make to the Brazilian national team. We might have Ederson, right? Raiza mentioned that he even trained as a right back, okay? Ederson, who came as a defensive midfielder, but he's also versatile, even trained as a right back. There's Danilo from Flamengo as well. Okay, I wouldn't go with Ibanez. The defense can stay the same, no problem. I think they need to get some rhythm, they need to build chemistry and all that. All right. Now, Casemiro, I wouldn't play him. I wouldn't go with Casemiro. I'd take Fabinho, who's been doing really well in the last few games. I'd go with Fabinho. Bruno Guimaraes, I'd keep the left back. Yeah, would you change Alisson too? But for who? So just leave Alisson there. We can complain, say whatever we want. He could have taken Fabio and all that, but just leave Alisson there now. From midfield forward, Casemiro. Out, Fabinho comes in. Bruno Guimaraes stays. Paqueta, if he's going to play there in that position, look, just let Rafinha move more to the right and Paqueta play in the middle and drift to the left. Like he did at that moment in the first half when he started to improve, when Ancelotti changed his position. He hit that volley, almost scored a great goal. That moment from Paqueta. He's much better there. He plays much better in that space. And I would go with, then yes, Vini Jr., okay? Yeah, another option would be to come in with Danilo, but then there would be too many defensive midfielders, or Paqueta, Vini Jr., and on the right, Rafinha. Or, put Luis Enrique in. You have to think about some options to change things up. And in attack, I would go with Endrick instead of Igor Thiago. I would go with Endrick instead of Igor Thiago. That's the reality, right? So we had our idol Zico, talking about this Endrick situation to ESPN. Look, I think Brazil played in a very predictable way. Everyone there just trying to do their job. There just wasn't any movement. There wasn't any confusion for the opponent, no switching positions, and that shows a lack of teamwork. I don't see any player there with the same characteristics and personality as Endrick to rise to a challenge. He has a good track record with the Brazilian national team. He overcomes challenges on the field and is a decisive player, always alert to the opponent's mistakes. If Zico is speaking, I'm with my friend Sidney Mourinho. I'm with my friend Gabriel Orff here. Orfon, if Zico said it, do you agree with it or not, Sid? Sidney?
Of course I agree. Zico knows. He knows a lot. He's a real expert, right? He has history and he has huge knowledge. He's right. I think Brazil needs to vary its plays. And this morning, the left back, Douglas Santos, who didn't really like the question that talked about more effective movement, right? And he has it, but I don't think he's right when he answered back the question made by our colleague from Sao Paulo, because there was a lack of movement. Zico is absolutely right. The team is too obvious. Brazil can't be obvious, right, Papa? It needs to move forward with creativity, with that system we know from Brazilian football where the individual will enhance the collective.
What would you change from what you mentioned? I'm not sure if you heard what I said. For the team, would you follow my opinion or change something else?
I think that from midfield forward, Casemiro, although he's Ancelotti's trusted man, could actually give his spot to Fabinho. Yeah, I would still keep Paqueta, even though Paqueta played below expectations. Up front, I'd give Endrick or Rayan a chance with Vinicius Jr. and Rafinha, though Rafinha still needs to prove himself. He's not delivering, but he deserves trust due to his history and needs to prove himself in the Brazilian national team. I don't see much room for change in defense. I'd put Danilo on the right and maybe use Alexandre from Flamengo at left back for the Haiti game. I think the team gets more, let's say, balanced with Danilo and Alexandre on the sides, right? In midfield, what?
The image works better?
It works better, a strong midfield. And betting on the speed, right, of Endrick or on the finishing power of Rayan, who is also a mobile player, right? I'd bet on either Endrick or Endrick. I think he already deserves a chance for Friday's match.
And Gabriel Orfon is here, the great GB7. What's up? Mindo was taking a little nap. He was?
Yeah, he was. The World Cup routine is this rush. Let me move over here so I can be seen more. Yeah, I agree with what Galo said, right? Galo is Galo, right? Gallo knows his stuff. Our idol Zico, who even wished you a happy birthday, right? That's great.
He called me, man.
That's some respect. Endrick, man, is a player who needs to be on this team. That's what I said in my post-game analysis. If today's Antelope were Milan's coach in the past, Kaká would have been on the bench forever. Antelope is lacking courage. To put Endrick in, there has to be something new in this team, and I think that's Endrick. Man, he fits perfectly in this team. About your lineup, I would change a few pieces. My ideal lineup wouldn't be the same as yours. Look, you probably won't agree with me, right? But anyway, Alisson, Danilo, Marquinhos, Gabriel Magalhães, Douglas Santos, Fabinho, Danilo Santos, Eni Paquetá, Vinícius, Luiz Henrique, and Endrick. That would be my lineup. Yeah.
I wouldn't substitute Bruno Guimarães, as he's among Brazil's best players today. Bruno Guimarães, you can't take out Bruno Guimarães. I think Sydney agrees with me, right? Agreed, you can't take out Bruno Guimarães. If there's anyone else you could mention, fine, but Bruno Guimarães, there's no way we can take him out. But look, everyone agrees with Galo, right? Endrick is asking for a chance. The lineup is very obvious, and we know that the best chance for Brazil to succeed is to use these players we've mentioned. Look, Flamengo's executive director, Jose Boto, talked about this draw between Brazil and Morocco. He said, I really like the Moroccan team, so I'm not surprised. It doesn't surprise me at all. It doesn't surprise me that Brazil drew. I don't think it's a bad result. I think it's actually a good result, even for Brazil, right? It's a good result for Morocco too. I'm not surprised by the outcome. If both teams win their last two games, that's good, right? It's a good result if they win the remaining two games. The draw didn't surprise me because of Morocco's quality and above all for us Portuguese people because of what they did to us at the World Cup in Qatar. It's a very good team, tactically organized, with technically strong and very fast players. I think Brazil, of course, is always a contender because of the prestige it has. They are excellent players and have a coach with great experience, even though it's his first time leading a national team. I think Ancelotti and the players are capable of surprising everyone who doesn't believe much in Brazil. So, Jose Boto, who is Portuguese, is saying that Ancelotti and Brazil can surprise even those who don't believe in Brazil. Look, let me bring you some information now. So, about the transfer market. The initial idea of Flamengo, according to journalist Pablo Rafael Rua, is to try for a new loan for Lohan. The board believes that the player needs more experience and is trying to negotiate a new deal for the young man. So, the club hopes to resolve the matter by next Friday, so Flamengo should negotiate again and loan him out. It's Lohan the one who hasn't established himself yet, right? That's the problem, exactly, because we know he's a player who had some discipline issues and ended up being transferred. Then the deal didn't go through. He was loaned here, came back, and now he's coming back again. And what about Lohan's situation? So Flamengo might try to do what they did with Matias Gonçalves. But let me tell you, Matias Gonçalves, to me, is a star. He's a star. If Leonardo Jardim had arrived a little earlier, and it's nothing against Felipe, okay? Yeah, from what I feel, okay? It's just a feeling that Leonardo Jardim would see Matias Gonçalves as a great star, a great gemstone to be polished, a rough diamond. Yeah, and I think that actually I've already talked about this. I think that statement from Felipe about it, chaotic, right? I think it ended up messing with the player's mindset. The player loses confidence. It's really bad. It's really bad to have your coach talking like that in a press conference. And then you have to go out on the field under a lot of pressure. You go in under a lot of pressure. Honestly, I wanted to see more of Matias Gonçalves at Flamengo, not for nothing. He's doing well elsewhere, right? He's already been a champion. And we feel sad that this kind of situation happens, to lose a great player like Matias Gonçalves. I see a lot of potential in Lohan, even similar potential. He's also a great talent, a young guy, a rough diamond to be polished. But I feel like he has some issues there off the field, which are hard to solve. But maybe in a club where he has all the support, where he's considered an important player, right, Gabriel? Maybe you agree, right? I think he could have a future there, so yes, I would loan him out, just like what happened with Matias Gonçalves with Red Bull Bragantino. Is that right? Look, I'm going to bring you some information now. there are some other important situations for us to talk about. For example, the situation with Pedrinho, right? The president there, the owner of Cruzeiro, the guy who runs Cruzeiro's staff, the owner of the supermarkets there. We've even mentioned before that he holds a grudge against Leonardo Jardim. They say no, but we know these things happen. Look, the information going around is that Cruzeiro is making moves to try to sign Luiz Araújo, and I've already got everything here verified to share with you. Luiz Araújo has a good chance of being sold by Flamengo, but not to Cruzeiro, okay? Yeah, so Cruzeiro, they're interested in Luiz Araújo, Atlético Mineiro. Teams from abroad too, yeah, there are a lot of teams interested in Luiz Araújo's football. And then they also found out that Atlético Mineiro was interested in Arthur. Jorge really likes the player. He likes players with Luiz Araújo's characteristics, okay? So the transfer market is starting to get more and more hectic. And then I saw here that the news came out, right? That Lorenzo, Pedrinho has a great relationship with President Luiz Eduardo Batista, BAP. That's true. Pedrinho has a great relationship with BAP. And the forward also hasn't been very happy with his status at Flamengo. Currently, yeah, the tendency is that he'll play less and less, right? Less space. Flamengo is looking for more wingers and everything. Yeah, that could end up helping his move to Cruzeiro, but it doesn't. Guys, I'm going to bring this report here about Flamengo. Even with all the good relationship between BAP and Pedrinho, people are saying that Pedrinho went to Rio de Janeiro to sign Luiz Araújo, but no, Pedrinho is doing other things. It has nothing to do with it. Yeah, Flamengo won't want to negotiate Luiz Araújo with Cruzeiro, okay? Only if Cruzeiro makes a really big, really good offer. But even so, Flamengo understands that this is the worst moment to do a deal for any player with Cruzeiro because they're direct rivals. Yeah, it's the round of 16 of the Copa Libertadores da América. It's Flamengo and Cruzeiro, so Flamengo won't want to strengthen them. So the position I got from Flamengo is this. Cruzeiro wants Luiz Araújo. Yeah, they're going to have to price Luiz Araújo at the value we think is fair, right? A high value. And they're going to have to make us an offer. We're going to have to do a swap of Luiz Araújo for Caio Jorge. So send Caio Jorge and take Luiz Araújo. Before the Libertadores round of 16, send Caio Jorge and take Luiz Araújo. And Flamengo pays the difference. Of course, setting the price that Luiz Araújo deserves, right? And then it's obvious that Cruzeiro moves fast when Flamengo says they want Caio Jorge. The information I have is that when BAP jokes, no, okay, let's do the deal. Do you want Luiz Araújo? All right, but we want Caio Jorge. Let's settle on the value for each and we can work out the payment in installments and everything. Then Cruzeiro backs out. That's the thing. Cruzeiro pulls out of this deal involving Caio Jorge. They won't want to lose their striker right before the round of 16 in the Copa Libertadores da América. That's it. I invite you to follow, like, and share on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe down below, turn on notifications, hit the bell, and leave a cool like on the video. Thank you so much for your company. We're in this together.
The first video on the Paparazzo Rubro Negro channel, recorded under the Rio. Hudson, check out the first one.
Yeah, man, I even left it. I didn't even turn on the light here. Look, that's better. I could have done this earlier, right? So, greetings, Rubro Negros. This is Flamengo. Thanks.